That's right. That's right. That's right.
What's the most important thing I should talk about today? I just did.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. You did it. All I can do is just submit to that. All I can do is submit to that. That is right. That is right. So here we go. We're gonna follow the formal outline and make sure we get all the questions asked. Let's begin with Stan. So your name and your company's name.
Stan Baker, Restorative Resolutions is my company.
Let's talk about, so you've experienced the entire program here. Let's talk about what you enjoyed most from the program.
I made a few notes, so I may just refer to those.
Sure.
I think the Thursday video conference call was the best part of the training. Mm-hmm. It did a number of things for me. It provided a huge positive accountability for all the lessons. It's what kept me on track. I got to get this done because I know Alzay is going to ask me about this on Thursday. Mm-hmm. The other thing about them that I really, really liked was there was an opportunity to get further clarification on a point in one of the modules. I liked the feedback. You're very direct, and it's very, very helpful as well. I mean, if you said it once, you probably said it 100 times through the training. Focus on the problem. Focus on the problem. And there are times where I got off of that, where I veered away from that, and you were very, very good at saying, so I had this really, really great idea on the discovery, and I thought this was going to be fantastic. And all you did was ask a simple question. So would your avatar, would that be part of their problem? And it's kind of like, duh, of course not. Right? So it's that keep coming back to what the problem is. Mm-hmm. I also, and this is beyond now the Thursday video conference, I really, really liked the way you gave feedback on the assignments that you did. Mm-hmm. The combination of written and your commentary mm-hmm. was really, really helpful, along with the little cursor that flies around the screen to show what you're talking about, just so you know. If I hadn't had those bits of feedback, if I hadn't had those video feedbacks pieces, I don't think that I would have been able to refine my productized service down to the simple thing that it is right now. Because it really is a very simple approach right now. And that was something else you said, simple is better than complex. Man, you must have said it 100 times as well. I also really like the structure. I'm an educator, right? So I look at the pedagogy. It's an occupational hazard, man. I just can't help it. But what I was looking at too is the way that the way that you presented things in the modules, and I really liked the presentation, the way you used the images and so on the screen, and then the follow-up assignments, and then the feedback. Like that kind of sequencing is something that I'm definitely interested in practicing mm-hmm. in what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And so I also, that's also the format for that, but also the format that you used for the video conferencing. A big part of my project, my service, is the follow-up video conferencing. And can you guess what the question will be that will lead off each of the video conferencing? Can you guess what it's going to be?
What is the most important thing?
That is the question right there. That is the question right there, man. The other thing that really, really struck me once I got over the limitations that I had with this is I really like doing the phone calls. Like I really, really enjoyed it. Like every single one of the conversations, has just been terrific. I mean, I talked to some crazy awesome people, right? and they're not long phone calls, and it is quite incredible to be able to get to as much as we do in about 30 minutes. Like, I have honestly not gone over 35 minutes on any of my calls. So I can live with that because
Yes,
it's
sir.
nice and short. Like the first call today was, I think, 27 minutes. The second one was 24 minutes. And I have another call scheduled for the first potential client. Like, I don't leave the phone call without getting another date for, another, if the conversation needs to continue, let's set a date for it. So,
Right.
And then the other thing that I really, really like is that you brought your experience into what we were talking about. Sometimes it was experience that had just happened that day or that week. And while I thought that was appropriate, you never brought it in first. You would always bring it in second. And I think that's just a really, really effective way of doing it, certainly that I appreciated. So I could tell the story, here's the situation that I dealt with. And then as a result of that, you would say, well, look, here's what I've had in a similar situation that may be helpful for you, when you consider this or that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm glad. I'm glad the program hit on those different points for you. It's designed to take people a very long way in a very short amount of time. And you even kind of said it in passing. You said, once I kind of got over the blank, right? Because there's some blank you got to get over, whatever that blank is. But if you can kind of deal with that initial friction, that initial discomfort, because it's new, so it's always going to be a level of discomfort. But once you get past that, there's some real chunks of movement you can pick up, and you've done that. That's part of what you were describing. So that's just happy. I'm happy to hear that reflected back. So let's flip that question. So what was the least favorite part of the program for you, sir?
Well, I think, like you just said, actually, it's the flip side of doing things very, very quickly, is that there's just so much stuff to get through that I actually have to go through it again now with the eyes of having my first client, or with the eyes of now having to use LinkedIn. And so I'm only now, beginning to get into some of the LinkedIn assignments. And I have actually gone through some of them a second time just to say, oh, okay, so how does this have to get set up? As you saw from the intro video that you weren't able to open, I have to figure some of those kinds of things out yet, like how to get that set up in there. And I'm not sure. So I guess the thing that still remains for me is there are some ongoing questions in terms of some real practical things around stuff like LinkedIn that I haven't had chance to actually practice and work on because of the short time frame.
Got it.
So, for example, one of the things I think is great is, like, this is how much it has a lag time. The routine of doing some work on LinkedIn didn't start until this past Saturday. But since Saturday, just doing it 2 days, I've added 6 or 7 more contacts who are actually my avatar. Right? So, and I'm only sending out 10 connection requests a day.
Right.
And I've got, out of the 20 that I sent out, I've got 6.
Right.
And they are the people that I want to reach. So
right.
That's why I got to get this video link stuff worked out. Right. So.
Absolutely. That again, good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of moving parts, which can be hard to articulate, hard to appreciate from the outside looking in, so to speak.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of moving parts here. But they can be put in order, or at least put
Hmm.
in a order, and so you can begin to work them in a order. And like you just said, so listen, when I finally kind of get myself settled into it, I can begin to work it, and I can begin to see some results from it. I mean, that's the you know. But I wish it all happened at once, and it doesn't all quite happen at one time, but
Hmm.
it does happen in pieces. So that's
No, because I mean, I have a part-time job in addition to this, and
hmm
I've got a couple of other active clients that I'm working with on other projects.
hmm
So this is not the like if this was the only thing, that would be one thing, but it's
hmm
kind of working it into some of the other stuff as well. So
You bet, you bet. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Uh, which frankly matters a lot to me. All of my clients have a life, right? And so,
hmm.
and
Hmm.
so the idea of being inundated or overwhelmed by one thing is just not very attractive. So it's really important to me that the systems you use can be put within whatever and wherever you want to spend your time. So yeah, that's a big deal to me personally. Um, so then, instead, if you've already said it, just repeat it. What is the number one thing you are taking away from this experience?
Hmm. Well, I guess it's overcoming some of the self-constructed barriers,
hmm
um, ways to do that. I can talk myself out of stuff pretty quickly, um, or rationalize my way out of, well, I've never done this before, or I forget the term they use, the barriers, like those
Limiting
roadblocks.
beliefs.
There we go, limiting beliefs.
hmm
Um, it's overcoming those limiting beliefs. I think that has been probably the most significant thing. I've tried different things um, in a business, and I guess the second number one thing that I took away
That's right. That's right.
is the idea of working on a business rather
hmm
than in a business.
hmm
And that's been a profound shift for me, because I don't want to be the business. Um, I want to be working on it.
hmm
So that distinction was a really, really big one for me too.
hmm 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 Yeah, personally, that one means a lot to me too. I just made a connection about being able to live your life, etc., and do things you want to do. It's hard to do that if you are the business. If you're in it every day with your hands full, trying to, it's hard to think about anything else. But on the flip side, if you've designed it better, designed your business better, there's space for this and
Hmm.
for that and for this, which makes everything else better. That makes the business better, makes your personal life better, makes your hobbies better, makes your smile brighter. It
Hmm.
changes all the stuff. So, um, again, thank you for saying that. That one to me is important. Um, so then, next question here is: what is the number one thing you still have to do? So clearly, you're still growing your business. What's the number one thing that you know you've got to do going forward here?
Practice. It's really practice everything. It's practice the LinkedIn habits. It's practice the phone calls. It's practice the tracking. It's just practice. There are a lot of people I'm discovering who really want to talk about student attendance.
Uh, get out of here.
Go
Get
figure, eh?
Get out of here. Get out. Man.
so, so even though I get a bit uptight about the practice, like the calls,
hmm
once I get into them and I just learn how to practice it as a conversation,
hmm
it they're really, really enjoyable.
hmm 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 what's the energy like for the person you're talking to, for the other person? So you're saying, I really enjoyed them. What's the energy like for this prospective client? Are you finding them apprehensive, or are you finding them excited? Are you finding them concerned? What's the energy like when you're having problem calls?
So on the second call, which was the one where we said, yeah, we're going to do something together, they were more excited than I was. And I was pretty excited. On the first one, she was actually saying, we have to keep this conversation going. Send me some stuff so I can do a presentation and make the ask at a meeting, and I'll call her after that meeting. So, I mean, she was, there was a pretty high level of energy, like recognizing that she is one of the people who's a specialist.
Okay.
Okay. So she's a social worker. And one of the things that she mentioned that's a problem is there are so many kids that are chronically absent and so few of us as specialists. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't it be great? This is her problem. This is the way she described it. Wouldn't it be great if people talked the same language? And wouldn't it be great if when a kid came to school, the person talking to them would talk to them in a way that would not make them feel that they were disliked as a kid? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, check, check, check. So.
And she's saying that to you.
She's saying that to me.
Versus you having to stoke it up and create it and push it and draw it out of her, right? Like she's saying that to you. And that's, I would argue, that is the byproduct of just a better conversation, a better designed conversation, a conversation with a different intention. To even be more direct, a conversation where you've left space for her to tell you about whatever it is that's affecting her. That's how it's supposed to be, right? That's how people communicate. That's how people communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, Stan. Awesome. Because when you go into sales mode, nobody wins. But when you talk to people, then something good can happen, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Good deal. Good deal.
I've gone into sales mode accidentally on a couple of these calls, and it's just, this does not feel good.
Right. It's immediate. I mean, especially once you know the difference, once you kind of felt one versus the other, you can feel yourself lean into the other, and you're like, I am out of bounds. I just did it all by myself. I'm out of bounds. I got to reel myself back. So
that's right.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let's see here. Stan, what would you tell? So again, on the outside looking in, a lot of these coaching programs look similar, if not the same, to be honest. And so, you took the leap. You got in the program. You've received some value. What would you tell someone else who's considering joining the group? Whether it's a warning, a watch out, an encouragement, what would you say to someone considering joining the program?
Well, one of the reasons why I selected you as someone to work with is I probably watched 15 or 20 of your YouTube videos. And I mean, you said similar things in those videos to what's in the training, but it wasn't put together. It didn't hang together in as coherent a way. Mm-hmm. I really liked the way that you had presented things. And so the first thing I would say is, if you're not sure, just check out the YouTube channels and watch some of these. Watch this guy in action. Watch him with the whiteboard. There really are some great things that you can pick up. And then secondly, the course itself is what is structured in a way to pull all of these pieces together in a way that makes sense. The third thing that I would say is that you need to be prepared to do some heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. I think that was one of the terms that you used in the first call that we had before I signed on to this. Is like, are you ready to do some heavy lifting? And it is very true. And then the fourth thing is it's heavy lifting. It's not easy, mm-hmm. and it's worthwhile. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Again, Stan, thank you for saying that. It is the truth, right? Um, uh, sometimes I wish in my marketing material, I could make these promises of it's easy, don't worry about it, press a button, and you know, every time I try to do that, it doesn't. I yell at myself, right? Because I know that's not the truth. So the truth is, there's some lifting you got to do, but if you'll do it, you get a return on it. There is a return that comes from the effort you apply. So, um, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Um,
Can I just add one thing that I thought of, and that is that effort also includes the being quiet parts. So in the second call that I had today, it was hard for me not to say something at a couple of points, and I was just quiet. And she started talking. She started saying stuff that she wanted to do next, and so on. That's a hard part for someone who likes to talk like myself too. But again, it does make a difference.
yes, sir. Thank you. Thank goodness. Goodness. True. Also true, Stan. And by the way, if I have it right, you'll correct me. You're talking about someone who actually made the purchase, right? So so you being
No,
quiet.
this was a referral. So
Okay.
this was
Okay.
the
Okay.
first call. Not the only thing I did with that was to send her some information and then to set up another problem call.
Okay. 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 Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Got it. Good. Okay. All right. Wonderful. What did I miss, Stan? Is there something I should have asked? What else is floating out there?
Well,
Stan was
you
talking
had
about what's next? What's next for you, Stan?
Well, I have to double my clients before the end of the calendar year, man.
All right.
I've got one.
That we can get to. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I also need to get up to my 100 contacts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited with this first client to actually now have the opportunity to start to develop some data that I can say, look, here's what we did. Here's how it worked or didn't work. Here's what we changed. So it's the value of experience. And I recognize that this is not something, even just in terms of measurement, like that you can measure in a week. And you and I have had this conversation too. Like you should be able to do something more quickly than, or ideally more quickly than what's out there. At the same time, things like attendance need to be measured over months, not days. Right. And so that's the opportunity to be able to do that and get some data will be awesome. And of course, I need to fine tune the product too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you're still open to giving any advice on LinkedIn, but I'm still looking for a way to get that video on there. So I don't know.
We'll talk about that in just a moment. Yeah. We'll
okay.
Yep. We'll spend a minute or two on that in just a moment. While we're talking about projects, so you've got the project that has recently signed on, and just a note that might even be obvious at this point. So the other project, the larger project over a series of years, perhaps, the amount. Now that you're thinking about working on the business and not in the business, now that you've got that paradigm, what you learn, how fast you learn, how much better your service will get as a result of that intense interaction is about to hit an exponent. So yes, it will cost you a lot of your time, so to speak, because that's just what the service is. You're also being paid a premium, so you got to weigh the pros and cons of that. But because you're going to be deeply in there, so to speak, doing the work, you're going to see, oh, I see these people don't talk. Oh, I see no one reads this data. Oh, I see there should be a software tool right here. Oh, I see we should have an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is. And so it's going to greatly increase your understanding of how the service should be best delivered, whether it's in person or virtual or whatever, some hybrid or whatever. So that is that's the those are pros and cons of when you get like those really big premium opportunities that demand your one-on-one attention. You know, the con is, so to speak, is that, you know, it's intensive, but the pro is if you're thinking right, it makes you really smart really fast, and every other arrangement after that gets the benefit of that insight, which benefits you, benefits those you serve, as long as you're thinking, you know, got the right framing. So good.
That's actually something that I'm really looking forward to, because I expect that while the basics of my product will be the same a year from now, I expect that it will be better.
Yes, sir.
Because of both the clients that I sign on separately and this one that's more face-to-face. I absolutely know it, and I'm really excited about learning how we can make it even better.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm telling you. And yeah. And then once you get, as you do, because now the work is happening, Stan. See, now it's not conceptual. Now the work is happening. So as you do the work, get the data, get the benefits, touch the people, deliver the value, and you become known as the company that delivers this work, here comes your multiple, right? As we discussed, once people find a trusted vendor, a trusted expert, if you will, they don't swap you out. They don't swap out trusted vendors, trusted experts. You know, they come right back to you. Can you help us with something else too? So there's your multiple. There's your multiple. I mean, that's why we do this, right? So again, if you do it right up front, everybody wins in the end of this thing. It's a good deal. Good deal. You hear me? I'm excited too, because that's the thing. That's what it's all for. Okay, great, good to go. So Stan, I'm gonna conclude this formal part of the conversation, good sir, and we'll do some technical things in just a minute. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.